Welcome to Truth and Transparency. Oh, Diane's got jokes today. I'm right on time, Di. Right on time. Gonna let people get in chat, love. But Diane's funny. This episode is full of good information. Hey, Bumble. Hey, we're the monkeys. I went ahead and made a playlist. So those of you guys that are wanting to watch this, there's a playlist. I went ahead and created it today. Yeah. So, boop, boop, boop. Good morning, Gypsy. Let's get after it. Again, I'm gonna let the notifications pop people in here. I got a nice important message for everybody.
About the Googling for bruises, right? How to get rid of a bruise. During trial that day, I took my phone out while they were talking about it on the stand and Googled bruises, and WikiHow page came up, and it said how to get rid of a bruise.
Okay. So I want somebody to go ahead right now. Take out your phone, and I want you to Google bruises and see what's the first thing that pops up. Boop, 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 boop. Bruises. Gotta get in my zone.
But even the whole, everyone always asks me about this Googling for bruises, right? How to get rid of a bruise. During trial that day, I took my phone out while they were talking about it on the stand and Googled bruises, and WikiHow page came up, and it said how to get rid of a bruise was the name of the page. So if you put bruises into your phone, it pops up that first WikiHow thing, or at least it did that day.
Yeah.
And I did not tell the lawyers that. I didn't say anything because I was like, they know what they're doing. They got paid $79,000 to do this. Just stay out of it, Karen.
Yeah.
And it pops up that first WikiHow thing, or at least it did that day.
Yeah.
And I did not tell the lawyers that. I didn't say anything because I was like, they know what they're doing. They got paid $79,000 to do
it. So disappointing. Mine said a blood vessel under the skin caused by trauma. Hello. Welcome. What's up? Again, I'm just going to give this about 2 more minutes, and then I'm going to begin with today's episode. Again, you're up at 9 a.m. probably because of me and the good vibes you received. Actually, I'm glad that you're here. Diane, you missed it. I had my cards read to me for your birthday, but you fell asleep. So, Miss Beautiful Mess, my bestie Diane, it was her birthday yesterday, and she was supposed to see my cards. I think this means you have to do it again. Nice, calm. I went ahead and I worked out this morning. Those lats, pull downs. Okay. Again, listen.
Do this. Just stay out of it, Karen. You put bruises into your Googling for bruises, right? How to get rid of a bruise. During trial that day, I took my phone out while they were talking about it on the stand and Googled bruises, and WikiHow page came up, and it said how to get rid of a bruise was the name of the page. So if you put bruises into your phone, it pops up that first WikiHow thing.
Hello, everybody. Yeah.
And I did not tell the lawyers that. I didn't say anything because I was like, they know what they're doing. They got paid $79,000 to do this. Just stay out of it, Karen.
Yeah.
And I hugely regret that because that was a damning piece of evidence.
How to get rid of bruises came up on her Google search.
Yeah. And it was never it was never cross-examined to say, that would be evidence. I did not tell the lawyers that. I didn't say anything because I was like, they know what they're doing. They got paid like $79,000 to do this. Just stay out of it, Karen. Like, yeah. And I hugely regret that because that was.
Okay, again, this is again, hello to everybody. You're gonna hear little bits and pieces from Lindsay's cousin, who I think the world of. She has never swayed once on her cousin's innocence. And in fact, when you actually hear things with her perspective, and when you hear like really what was going on, it changes how you would say like, oh, why would this happen? Or why did this happen? Or what's, what are these lawyers doing? That's what I kept saying, is what are these lawyers doing? Hello, Canadian Mama. Hey, I heard gas prices are just soaring up there. They're just about the baby. You'd have to ask Miss Beautiful Mess. She said that I'm a manifester, and whatever I say happens. She just said the topic is, it's on the title. But this is the Lindsay Partin case, Fight for a Family. This is one of our cases. Lindsay Partin is somebody who I believe is innocent, and she was convicted in 2019 from a 2018 death of a little girl, Hannah, who she babysat. So, okay, fine, I'm invested now. Yeah, girl. So I want you guys to listen to this.
Yeah. And I did not tell them. She was like, I don't know how to be a lawyer. I know. Like, that's so disappointing to hear that. Yeah. Linda, like, I don't know anything about the law. Like, I try to stay out of it. It just was like, I don't know how to be a lawyer. I don't know anything about the legal stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get in their heads. But even the whole, like, everyone always asks me about the Googling for bruises, right? How to get rid of a bruise.
This was huge. That they said, and you guys will see, that Lindsay Googled how to get rid of a bruise. And I want you to hear what her cousin says about this, and because it's important.
During trial that day, I took my phone out while they were talking about it on the stand and Googled bruises, and WikiHow page came up, and it said, how to get rid of a bruise was the name of the page. So,
if you just were to Google bruises, if you were to type in like Walmart, directions to the nearest Walmart, like just all this stuff pops up. And I would have loved to know, when you ask an expert that has to do with this shiz with smartphones, what they would say about this. But the defense didn't call anybody to the stand about any of this. Sad but true. So her cousin was like, if you just take your phone and you Google the word bruises, see what comes up. So I just wanted you guys to hear a little bit of that. It's not that she Googled how to get rid of a bruise. If you Google the word bruises, where it's going to send you. This morning I Googled, what is the force required to stab through a body? Exactly. Let's hope that your husband never wants to set you up for murder. You're going to go down, girl. Exactly. So I think we can all agree, if you guys watched Jason's testimony, that, he lied to investigators when this was going on, when his daughter was in the hospital and he was talked to. And he may want to say, this morning I Googled strippers near Lana. Good. You guys know that you can start door dashing strippers. Feel free. So is she saying she's not guilty? Of course, Lindsay Partin is not guilty. And I'm going to prove it all. But I'm also going to prove how ineffective her assistance was. This was not a public defender. This was a person that they paid, over $75,000. And by the time that they were hired to the time that it was over was less than a year. Right about a year. So, and then Spitz, I think, cost $7,500 or $7,000 or something. But obviously, Jason's testimony, it was lacking once they found out about Chris Davis. There was no questions about Chris Davis. But here we go. This episode is this is the first in the series of when it went to court. This was the state's first witness, which was the EMT gentleman that arrived at Lindsay's house. So
is that the
daughter, was signed over by the dad since she's a minor and cannot sign for herself and was not in the capacity to sign for herself.
Mr. Reedy, at any point that you were with that child, with Hannah, did you or your partner perform CPR on Hannah?
We did not.
Did you or your partner take any precautions when dealing with Hannah's body, her neck, her head?
When we were on scene, we felt the situation to be a bit unsafe. It made us feel uneasy. And so we determined it was best just to get her out of the situation as quickly as we could. My partner, Liam, we scooped her up. He scooped her up, cradling her tightly to his body, supporting the head. We walk out to the cot. We lay her down on the cot. We strap her in with our straps, and we load her up into the cot, into the medic. And at that point, that's when Jason, the father, was asking about going. We told him, no, we're going. We need no distractions, no disruptions. He agreed. He agreed and followed. And that's when we went en route to Fort Hamilton.
And Mr. Reedy, at any time or at any point when you were with this child, did you do anything to cause bruising to her body, her head, her face, or the back of her head?
I did not.
Anytime did you do anything to cause injury to this child?
I did not.
There are no further questions for this witness. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Defense, before we cross, I'm going to note it's 11:15. The jury would probably appreciate a quick 10-minute break. For restroom purposes, I generally don't like to interrupt the flow of a witness's testimony, but given the time that we've dealt with some issues and whatever, I think it's probably appropriate.
Okay.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, before you go out and hit the restrooms and whatever, please leave your notepads. Please keep on your lanyards. Please. All right, everybody have a seat. We're back on the record, State of Ohio versus Lindsay Partin. Back from our recess. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, any issues that need to be reported to the court? I see a bunch of heads shaking nose and no hands going up, so I will then accept that there are no issues to deal with. Mr. Pagan, the defense ready to cross?
Yes, sir.
All right, you can join the cross.
Yes, sir.
All right, you may proceed whenever you're ready.
Thank you.
this is the cross-examination of your EMT.
All right, still morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Chris Pagan, and I'm the defense attorney. We've never met?
Nope.
Okay. Is this your first time ever testifying?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, congratulations. How old are you?
25.
Okay. And currently you have two jobs, right?
Yes.
Okay, you're a part-time firefighter EMS worker for Hanover Township.
Yes.
And then you have a job as a EMS for a private provider?
Yes.
Okay. And together that makes full-time work?
That one is full-time. Hanover is part-time. I work over full-time. I work a lot.
Right. You're 25 and you have more energy than a guy like me.
Not right now.
All right. But, so the jury understands, Hanover Township is a township in Butler County.
Yeah.
It's not a municipality.
No.
Okay. It doesn't have a full-time police force.
It has a contract with the sheriff's deputies.
Right. So Hanover Township itself doesn't have a township police force.
No.
Okay. It doesn't have a full-time fire department.
Well, we are at the station 24/7, 365. We're just not full-time employees. There are us on the paid staff, as we call it. There are part-timers that work on a set rotation, and there's also volunteers that supplement us on bigger incidents.
And you're not a volunteer, you're a paid
Both.
part-time.
Part-timers are both. We are interchangeable.
Okay. And would the nearest city be either Hamilton or Oxford?
Yeah, Hamilton by far the closest, and then Oxford's a good second.
Okay. And would it also be fair to say that the Hamilton Fire Department provides help and services to Hanover Township for big events?
Very rarely.
Okay. All right. Now, you said this was the first time you ever testified.
Mhm.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And you prepared for your testimony?
Yes.
Okay. What did you do to prepare for your testimony?
We had a couple meetings with Ms. Sheehan
Mhm.
at the firehouse. We did back in November. Was it November, I believe? And then just a few days ago, last Friday.
Okay. And apart from meetings, did you review documents?
I did best I could when not working.
Okay.
Or
What-
sleeping.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
When I wasn't working or sleeping to go to work, I did review some.
Okay. And what documents did you review?
Mainly just the record that we had of questions that we had asked back and forth and the responses that I had given.
All right, I didn't hear what you said. Say it again.
She emailed me a document that was basically questions that she asked, and they were my responses. I looked over that, briefly, and then the report as well.
And when you talk about the report, is that State Exhibit 1, which you
Yes,
got-
State Exhibit 1, yes.
Any other documentation that you reviewed to refresh your recollection here today?
No.
Okay. And would it be fair to say that this report, State Exhibit 1, which is your report, correct?
Yes.
Your name is on it.
Yes.
All right. You mentioned another guy named Liam.
Yes.
What's his last name?
Harold.
Liam Harold's name isn't on this report.
It is.
It is?
He is not as the in-charge provider.
Okay.
It is my partner.
And he did not provide a space where he put his name behind the narrative.
Right.
Okay. The narrative says Reedy AEMT.
That is mine.
Okay. That's because you taped out the narrative. Yes?
Yes.
You gotta say yes because we're
Okay.
recording and somebody
Okay.
might get.
Yes.
That's okay. Right. And you put AEMT because it's assistant EMT?
Advanced.
Advanced EMT. Okay. And your assistant Liam didn't provide a narrative?
No. Only the in-charge provider provides the narrative and actually does the report.
Okay.
The partner just reviews after you're done, and we kind of collaborate to see if we need to change things, and this is our final document.
Gotcha. So this was prepared closer in time to the event
Yes.
when your mind was fresher?
Right.
Okay. When you had a better sense of what the details were?
Right.
Okay. And when you go to the last page,
This guy's really important. Obviously, first on scene, and his recollection was obviously in real time. And what they're going to do is they're going to talk about his testimony versus, the report.
which contains the narrative,
Mhm.
if I understood your testimony, you collaborated with your partner Liam to
Yes.
determine, we gotta let me finish, I know. To determine that it was accurate.
Yes.
You determined together that the narrative was accurate.
Yes.
There were no objections made by your partner as to the narrative you put forward.
No.
All right. When you reviewed your narrative for your meetings with the assistant prosecutor and to testify, you have no dispute with that narrative.
No.
Now, before you were provided with the report, you testified without the benefit of the report here
Right.
today, correct?
Right.
And so when you testified and said that that the run happened on 3/8/2017, that was a mistake,
Yeah.
okay? A mistake because it happened a long time ago.
Yes.
Yes, no dispute that it happened in 2018.
Correct.
You just made a mistake.
Right.
Okay. And when you testified about the timeline without the aid of the report, and the report has the timeline,
Correct.
you indicated you arrived on scene at 7:19.
Which is the time we arrived at the patient, which is the time we took our first set of vitals.
Right.
But again, without the aid of the report, it's been a long time.
Yes, because the report indicates, and I'm going to publish it because it's been admitted, is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. Because the report here indicates you're on scene at 7:13.
Correct.
Just Megan, if you need to zoom in or blow it up, you can do that on that.
And I'm very nervous to do it, but I appreciate
And
it.
Ms. Wilson can help you if you just
Okay.
ask her.
Thank you, Judge. All right. So you arrived at 7:13, 7:19.
We arrived at 7:13. Liam arrived at the patient before me because like we had said earlier, he went in prior to me going in. He arrived around 7:14 at the patient, which is documented in there. Our first set of vitals were taken at 7:19.
Right. So what I offered there was the 3/8/2017 and the 7/19. Those are examples of mistakes that you made in your testimony because your report is more accurate.
Right.
Okay. You have the monitor in front of you, correct?
Yes.
All right. And I'm going to put the narrative up. So when you and I talked about the narrative, this is the narrative that you took,
Yes.
the one that you say was accurate.
Yes.
All right. The one that has your name down at the bottom,
Yes.
the one that you collaborated with Liam about.
Yes.
Okay. And looking at me, when you testified, you told the jury about the father's behavior there in the garage, correct?
Yes.
And you indicated that he was nudging or putting his hands on Hannah.
Yes.
All right. And you would acknowledge that that's not what you wrote in the report. Would you acknowledge that that's not what you wrote in the report?
I will acknowledge that the wording is not correct.
Okay.
That was the best wording I could come up with at the time, dealing with the situation.
I understand that's your explanation. But your report, which you say,
Hold on a second, I'm sorry. Ma'am, I see a hand in the jury box. Ma'am, what's?
I'm unable to read the report. I don't know if you're intending for us to be able to read it, but I'm unable to see the words in the narrative.
thank you. I'm going to try and zoom it in.
It's still going.
I can see it now.
Ms. Wilson?
Thank you. You get what you asked for.
Can you read that? Just give it a second, it might take a minute. Are you able to read that?
Father continued to hover over EMS the entire time.
Yes.
All right. Because that's true, right?
Yes.
On scene kept hovering over the child.
Just move it down.
So you would agree, beginning where my pen is, that you wrote the words, Father on scene kept hovering over the child, trying to shake the child to just wake up. Father continued to hover over EMS the entire time.
Yes.
All right. Because that's true, right?
Yes.
That's what occurred. Right?
Yes.
And you made that notation because it was concerning to you.
Right there. Father hovering over the child, shaking the child to wake up.
It was.
You made that notation because it was unusual to you.
It was.
All right. And is it fair to say that you used the verb shake and not nudge because you made the observation that he was touching, handling, nudging, or shaking her to wake her up, wake her up?
That was the best choice of words I could find for the time. Nudging is a better term for that. Nudging and my hands here.
Okay. And what's problematic about that to an EMT, did I get that right, EMT?
Yeah.
What's problematic about that to an EMT is that he was interfering with the care that you were trying to provide.
Correct.
All right. Not my client.
She was also asking questions as well.
Okay. Did she put her hands?
No.
Did she hover?
Yes.
Did you write in the report that she hovered?
No.
Okay. So it wasn't concerning to you when you wrote the report, was it?
It was, but not as much as the father.
Okay. When you testified on direct, you didn't tell the jury that the defendant, Lindsay, hovered over the patient, did you?
No.
When you wrote the report that you collaborated with Liam about, you didn't write those words that Lindsay hovered and interfered with you.
No. She was talking to us and in real close, just like Jason.
But now on cross-examination, that's how you characterize it, despite the fact that you didn't testify about that on direct, and you didn't put in the report that you collaborated with your colleague about?
Yeah.
So you wrote an incomplete, false report?
No. It's what I remembered at the time.
Okay. And again, you remember things closer in time better
Yeah.
than you do.
This is what we got at the time, considering everything that had just happened. You try to do my job, you will do the same thing.
Be accurate. Right?
You do your best.
Be honest. Right?
Yes.
Okay. And you just said you remember things closer to the event, right?
Yes.
And here we are over a year plus later. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. And now you're characterizing Lindsay as hovering, which you never did before.
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
Oh.
Right there.
Right?
Right.
We have an objection, asked and answered. So this is day one. This is day one. So they do know objection, asked and answered. Just was curious.
Okay. You also testified on direct that you directed the father not to ride in the ambulance with you and your partner and Hannah to Fort Hamilton Hughes.
Correct.
Okay. And I'm not going to put words in your mouth. I'm going to tell you what I heard. You tell me if I'm wrong. You said that because you didn't want to have a disruption, correct? Okay. You were concerned that he might become a disruption while you were trying to provide care to Hannah in transport.
He was upset. We were afraid that anything that we tried to do to aid, he might be in the way of. There's not a lot of room back there. We need our space to work.
All right. So
no one's allowed to ride in the back of the ambulance for any call. That's
Right.
That's standard across the board.
Now let's look at the language that you used when you had a better and fresher memory. Beginning there, follow with me. Father told not to ride with EMS to the hospital, probably a typo, hospital due to him being a disruption.
Correct.
All right, those are the words that you wrote.
Yeah.
All right. That's what you think was true.
Yes.
All right. And you used the phrase, he was being a disruption, which is different than potentially being a disruption.
Correct.
And the fact of the matter is that he was being disruptive at the scene by hovering, touching, and you had concerns about it that you noted in that report.
Yes.
Okay. And nowhere in this report is there an indication that the defendant, the babysitter, was a disruption at all. Is there?
Correct.
And that's because she wasn't a disruption.
I won't say that. I will just say that it's not in there. I know what I saw.
All right. Did you, on your direct with the prosecutor, tell this jury under oath a year and a half later that my client was a disruption at the scene?
She was there talking to us, in close with us. And it clearly says she was talking to us.
That's being disruptive?
When you testified on direct examination, you indicated that you felt that Hannah was in an unsafe environment.
Correct.
And that you scooped and got her out of there because
Yes.
you have to let me finish. I'm sorry about that. What does that mean?
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Let's just get the rules straight. I mean, I'll ask my question, and if you don't understand it, just tell me.
Okay.
It's not okay. All right. So I'll start over. Is it true that when you testified on direct examination that you told this jury under oath that you felt that Hannah was unsafe?
Yes.
All right. And that you sought to get her out from the garage environment
Correct.
because she was unsafe?
Correct.
Okay. And the reason that you concluded that she was unsafe is because the dad was, according to your report, shaking her?
That is not the reason. We felt as a whole, the situation as a whole is very concerning. That's why we got her out.
Okay.
It's not just him.
All right. In your report, you talk about the father shaking, right?
Correct.
The father telling her to wake up, yes?
Yes.
The father hovering,
Yes.
the father being excluded from the EMS because he was being a disruption,
Correct.
all right?
Which is normal
Where-
for everybody.
Okay, thank you for that. There is nothing else in this report, this narrative, that talks about safety and unsafety besides what I just read,
Correct.
okay? Which means there's nothing about the defendant, Lindsay Partin, the babysitter in this case, acting out in a way that made you conclude.
I did say she was
Let me
talking to us.
finish. There's nothing in this report that you wrote, that you collaborated about, that indicated that my client, in any circumstances, acted poorly, so for you to draw the conclusion that she was acting in a way that made her unsafe, Hannah unsafe. Isn't that true?
Correct.
Thank you. I'm not going to publish these yet, but I'm going to let you see them. I've handed you 2 photographs of Hannah. Take a look at those and let me know when you're done, and I'm going to ask you some questions about those.
Okay.
Mr. Fagan, just so the record is clear on identification
Yeah.
purposes.
I'll do it. Thank you. And let the record reflect that I'm handing the witness State Exhibit 41 and State Exhibit 50, which purport to be photographs of Hannah. Thank you, Judge. I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. You didn't take that photograph.
No,
All right. You don't know who took that photograph.
I do not. No.
Okay. You don't know exactly where that photograph was taking place.
No.
Okay. You can't say that the image that you see before you truly and accurately depicted how Hannah looked like at that time, given the fact that you know nothing about the circumstances of that photograph.
The only thing I noticed difference the shaved
I need you
head.
to answer my question.
This is exactly how I saw her, minus the shaved head.
All right, that's not my question. The question is, you can't say that the image that you see there accurately and fairly depicted her physical condition at the time the photograph was taken because you know nothing about the circumstances in which the photograph was taken.
I'll agree with that.
Okay. Now you're aware.
What he just asked there is he's looking at a photograph of Hannah in the hospital bed because this is when her hair was shaved to like with the tubes and everything that they were doing. So he's asking him, did you take this photo? No.
because you did it, that Hannah was transported from the scene to Fort Hamilton Hughes Hospital.
Correct.
Okay. And you're aware that she received treatment at Fort Hamilton Hughes Hospital.
Correct.
And you're aware that she was handled at Fort Hamilton Hughes Hospital.
Correct.
And you're aware that she was given scans, CAT scans, at Fort Hamilton Hughes Hospital.
Correct.
And you're aware that she was then life squatted or helicoptered from Fort Hamilton Hughes to Children's Hospital.
Correct.
Okay. And you're aware that she received emergency surgery.
Your Honor, objection. It's outside the scope of the witness's testimony.
Well, it's cross. I'll overrule the objection. It's cross-examination. I'll allow it up to this point. Cross-examination is wide latitude. Mr. Fager.
Okay, thank you. And you're aware that she had emergency surgery on March the 8th, 2018 at Children's Hospital.
I was aware she had it. I wasn't aware of the date.
Right. And so there was, her body was moved? Yes?
In what stage?
I mean, it was moved from the scene to a hospital, to a helicopter, from the helicopter to Children's Hospital, to various scans and to get surgery.
Correct.
But looking at the photographs that are in front of you, you don't know exactly what time that image was obtained, do you?
I do not.
And you have no idea, because you weren't present, how her body was treated, touched, handled, or what have you.
I do not.
After the care occurred.
I do not.
And you don't know if that picture occurred at Fort Hamilton Hughes Hospital or Children's Hospital.
I do not.
And you're aware that her treatment from at Children's Hospital went from March 8th to March 18th.
I didn't know the exact dates, but I knew it was a while.
Okay. And if that picture was depicted at Children's Hospital, you wouldn't know if it was on the 8th of March, correct?
Correct.
The 9th of March?
Correct.
The 10th of March?
Correct.
The 11th of March?
Correct.
The 12th of March?
Correct.
All the way to 18th.
Correct.
But you did discuss bruises in your report.
I did.
Okay. Do you have the report with you, or do I have it?
Thank you.
I do not have it.
And I'm going to put this up on the screen again.
Okay.
Can you see it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And would you agree with me that the first and only narrative statement about bruises occurs where my finger is?
Okay.
And that reads, first assessment found multiple bruises all over patient's body. Patient has sunken in eye sockets, also bruised, all bruises in multiple stages of healing, correct?
Correct.
So you didn't, for whatever reason, you didn't describe the location of the bruises on the body, did you?
Correct. There's a lot.
Okay. But you had the opportunity to write it down, didn't you?
Yeah.
You had the opportunity to write it down when it was fresh in your mind.
Correct.
Okay, and that wasn't done.
It was done as I saw fit.
Okay. It was done as you saw fit, correct?
Correct.
All right. But there's not, in this report, an evaluation of the locations of the bruises on her body, just a general statement about bruises?
Correct.
Okay. And you do mention that the bruises that you observed were in multiple stages of healing.
Yep, I do.
But there's no depiction in your narrative about which bruise appears to be fresher and which bruise does not appear to be fresh.
Correct.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I was going to say sunken in eye sockets. I would also think that that's like that she's not eating right. think about people that have like eating disorders. Isn't that a common trait among men with eating disorders to have sunken in? So, I mean, could this be that she's not receiving proper nutrition with food? That's my guess. Let's go back to Jason's house. Let's look at those pictures. What was in those cupboards? I didn't see any food for Hannah. I didn't see any snacks. Not that a kid should just eat snacks, but busy parents, give snacks to their kids a lot because they can't make the meal. And but
Would it be fair to say that you were, and if you need to evaluate the report, just let me know.
Okay.
You were on scene at the garage at 7:40. You're at the patient at 7:14, and you left at 7:25.
Correct.
All right. So you had 11 minutes there in the garage.
Correct.
And you've described what you've done, what actions you and your partner performed in those 11 minutes. And one of the things that you did was take a history, correct?
Took vital signs. We didn't have time to obtain a history. No one gave us a history on the patient as far as medical history.
why weren't you
Prior to
asking that when
this.
you're with the
Okay.
parent?
Well, you did take a brief history in those 11 minutes, correct? Because there is a statement attributed to both the father and the babysitter, my client, with respect to bruising.
Right. We took a brief history of that day, nothing prior to that. When you say history, I'm thinking of patient's entire medical history. That's
Okay.
what I'm trained to know. And that's what's told to me when I think of history.
Gotcha. Well, let's look at what the report says. Can you all see that? Is it big enough? Okay, so beginning right there. PT, that stands for patient?
Correct.
Okay. Patient's father on scene.
Correct.
And babysitter stated patient fell yesterday and hit her head hard and had complaining of a headache since the fall, stated the babysitter. Correct?
Correct.
All right. So this was a fall yesterday.
That's what we were told.
Okay. So when you just described the statement that you took about that particular day, that's an error because you took a statement about what occurred the day before.
Okay.
Right?
The history of this particular incident, not other medical history.
This
So
particular.
the statement that we just read about a fall and yesterday and hitting head hard,
Okay, this is why there's procedures put in place. This is why, okay, when I'm training you to do this job, hey, come on, you're gonna be, you're gonna work for Get Lucky Trivia. This is what we do. We have a sheet. You have to fill it out with, the name of the location you're at always. Then you put the date, the time that you arrived, the time that you leave. A manager has to sign off. The teams that come in first, second, and third. How many drinks were bought during trivia? How many shots? Stuff like that. Was anybody caught cheating during trivia? Are these repeat players? Did they use their lucky loyalty card? the average person per team, and then do a head count. And then you're going to fill all that out. Have the manager sign off on it because it's a cover your ass type thing. Let's say that the manager says you're not doing your job by pushing the shots and selling stuff while you're there. Well, they signed off and I sold 46 shots in 2 hours. Again, we take that back to the manager at $5 a pop. 46 shots. I mean, my worker in a 2-hour period, which is not even his job. He's just there to entertain, but he also pushed your products for bonus points. And you can't sit here and say that my worker didn't do his job. So it's like a cover your own ass type thing. And we're just talking about a simple and measly entertainment, company. And I had procedures and people had job descriptions. So clearly something was off with this guy. He's 25 years old. He's young, first time testifying. And usually when you're young, I think that you almost like do things more by the book because, you're not already set in your ways and things like that. So I don't understand how you could be on the jury and you could hear this testimony and you hear what's in the report and not ask yourself, well, why wasn't Jason looked at? If this 25-year-old is making this type of a report.
That came from both the patient, or no, strike that. That came from both Lindsay, the babysitter, correct?
Correct.
And the father?
No.
Okay. That just came from the...
Patient's father on scene and babysitter stated patient fell yesterday. I had simply said patient's father is on scene.
Okay. So that was a statement that was attributed to her.
Correct.
And it was a statement that was made in the presence of the father.
Correct.
And the father didn't object.
I don't know what he said. I wasn't focused on him as far as what he was saying to somebody else. Just what he was trying, saying to us.
You didn't hear him object.
No.
You didn't hear him say, that's not what happened.
No, because he didn't know either.
Okay.
He told us he didn't know either.
All right, so there was a statement from the father that's not in this report.
I don't see where that's relevant.
Okay, well, you don't get to choose what's relevant or not. What I'm trying to decide.
Who is this guy? What a smart ass motherfucker. I don't see where that's relevant. A little girl died. What the hell is wrong with you? Have you guys ever heard somebody say that on the stand? I don't think it's relevant. I don't think you should have a job. But I mean, that's not relevant because it's not my place to hire or fire you. But that is an entitled punk statement right there. You don't get to pick what's relevant. You do your fucking job.
It is, strike that. You got one statement from Lindsay, correct?
Correct.
All right. You're now telling me that there were other statements that you heard from him say, that's not what happened.
No, because he didn't know either.
Okay.
He told us he didn't know either.
All right, so there was a statement from the father that's not in this report.
I don't see where that's relevant.
Okay, well, you don't get...
The father saying he doesn't know. I mean, I don't have words for it. I got nothing for that.
You don't get to choose what's relevant or not. What I'm trying to decide is, strike that. You got one statement from Lindsay, correct?
Correct.
All right. You're now telling me that there were other statements that you heard from the father that aren't depicted in your report.
These statements, he just told us that he's like, I don't know what's going on. Like,
Okay.
no, he didn't say much else aside from what you see, where he said, wake up, wake up,
Where?
in the narrative.
Okay. What statements attributed to him?
The hovering over, just wake up. Father continued to hover.
Okay. Well, those aren't statements by the father. Those are behaviors that you observed, hovering and shaking.
I said, just wake up. I didn't say shaking at all. You put that in my mouth.
Wait, what?
You're saying that I put the word shaking in your mouth?
I'm talking about right now. I never said shaking right now.
Okay. No, it's in your report that you wrote when it was.
I understand that, but I wasn't speaking about that. I was speaking about when he said, wake up.
Okay. And that's in quotation marks, right?
Correct.
Okay. We'll point right there. And is that the only statement that you remember him making?
That's the only statement directly to us that I remember him making.
Right. Okay. And you're trained in how to do these narratives.
Correct.
You were concerned about the safety of the child.
Correct.
If you heard anything that was problematic, you would have depicted it in your narrative.
Correct. And like I said, the only thing problematic was just the behavior that we really thought. The behavior was confusing. I'll say it was confusing.
Okay. Well, you say confusing now, but you said disruptive in your report.
Okay. If something was to happen to my child, I'm going to be hovering over. I'm going to be watching every move that anybody makes. I'm going to be right there. I'm not going to be standing off like in a chair, sipping a margarita, just chilling. Because then his words would be like, oh, she wasn't attentive. Again, this is a 25-year-old.
Confused me as to why it was so disruptive.
Okay.
It's not normal on a normal scene.
Because he was interfering with your care.
He never once interfered. I was afraid he was going to become I was afraid he was going to cause more harm.
Okay.
He never once stopped us from doing anything.
Cause more harm than he's already caused harm.
He never stopped me.
Right there. Right there. I mean, when he says these words, oh, so he already caused harm. I didn't want him to cause any more harm. So that means he already caused harm. I mean, who are these lawyers? This is just really frustrating. This is so frustrating. Tell me if I'm wrong. What does he say right her?
It was so disruptive.
Okay.
It's not normal on a normal scene.
What's normal? What is a normal scene? What the is a normal scene? Every scene is different. Every situation is different. What are they teaching these fucking people?
Because he was interfering with your care.
He never once interfered. I was afraid he was going to become I was afraid he was going to cause more harm.
Okay.
He never once stopped us from doing anything.
He was going to cause more harm. So does that mean he already caused harm?
Okay. Well, I mean,
He never stopped me. He never stopped me. He just was concerned and he was doing this.
okay.
But he let me do everything I had to do.
Well, you wouldn't be concerned that he was going to do harm if he was gently touching Hannah or nudging her, would you?
It's still an observation, so I put it in there. I was not concerned.
That's my question is, you wouldn't be concerned about him nudging or just gently touching her, would you?
No.
But you would be concerned if he was shaking her,
Yeah.
wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. And you put in your report that he was shaking her right?
Correct.
Right there, boom. He shook Hannah. How are you on the jury and not hearing that he shook Hannah? You hear that Lindsay Partin says that she shook Hannah. Like, hey, wake up, wake up. Isn't that what he said? That, you know, just wake up, just wake up. You wouldn't say, don't touch her, don't do that. I instructed him not to touch her anymore. I mean, what a bunch of really, Hanover, you're really getting it done.
And you testified to the jury you were concerned about her safety and you got her out of there.
Correct.
Right?
That's an overall scene safety.
Just answer my question.
I did. I said yes, and that's an
Okay.
overall scene safety. That's why we got her out of there. It's not attached to anybody.
All right? And you put in your report that he was excluded from the ambulance because he was disruptive at the scene.
Yeah.
Okay. And to circle back what I was trying to get accomplished, and I think I did, but I'm going to make sure that I did. You heard Lindsay say something about a fall yesterday,
Correct.
where she hit her head hard,
Correct.
complaining about headaches, I think?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. And the father never interrupted to say, that's not true.
No.
Objection, asked and answered.
I mean, he didn't. I don't think he knew.
Oh. He didn't.
Yeah, I can't speak for him, but he didn't seem to have a clue.
But you can't speak for him because you were there. You heard things.
No, I'm not speaking on behalf of him because he's not me.
Wait,
Right.
I'm not.
what?
Okay.
I can't speak for him. We're not asking you to speak for him. We're asking you what you observed. Did this man say this? You wrote a report. What's in your report? You're an eyewitness. You're not speaking for anybody. You're speaking on your account. You observed him shaking Hannah. Yes or no? Yes. No more further questions. That's how that's handled.
I understand you're not him, but you were present at the scene.
Correct.
And you were present at the scene to hear what Lindsay had to say,
Yeah.
right?
I'm not going to speak on. I'm not going to put words in other people's mouths. If I didn't hear, I'm not putting it out there.
Okay.
What's up, T? All right, since T missed this part of it,
You did
I want you to see this.
care.
He never once interfered. I was afraid he was going to become I was afraid he was going to cause more harm.
Okay.
He never once stopped us from doing anything.
Okay. Well, I mean,
He never stopped me. He never stopped me. He just was concerned and he was doing this.
okay.
But he let me do everything I had to do.
Well, you wouldn't be concerned that he was going to do harm if he was gently touching Hannah or nudging her, would you?
It's still an observation, so I put it in there. I was not concerned.
That's my question is, you wouldn't be concerned about him nudging or just gently touching her, would you?
No.
But you would be concerned if he was shaking her,
Yeah.
wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. And you put in your report that he was shaking her, right?
Correct.
And you testified to the jury you were concerned about her safety and you got her out of there, right?
Correct. That's an overall scene safety.
Just answer my question.
I did. I said yes, and that's an
Okay.
overall scene safety. That's why we got her out of there. It's not attached to the behavior that we really thought. The behavior was confusing. I'll say it was confusing.
Okay, well, you say confusing now, but you said disruptive in your report.
Confused me as to why it was so disruptive.
Okay.
It's not normal on a normal scene.
Because he was interfering with your care.
He never once interfered. I was afraid he was going to become I was afraid he was going to cause more harm.
Okay?
He never once stopped us from doing anything.
Okay, well, I mean,
He never stopped me.
You were afraid he was going to cause more harm. doesn't that mean he already caused harm? More harm? I've just never seen
Making?
That's the only statement directly to us that I remember him making.
Right.
He,
Okay. And you're trained in how to do these narratives.
correct,
You were concerned about the safety of the child.
correct,
If you heard anything that was problematic, you would have depicted it in your narrative.
correct. And like I said, the only thing problematic was just the behavior, or that we really thought the behavior was confusing. I'll say it was confusing.
Okay. Well, you say confusing now, but you said disruptive in your report.
Confused me as to why it was so disruptive.
Okay.
It's not normal on a normal scene.
Because he was interfering with your care.
what's a normal scene? What's a normal scene? Did this guy know the dad? No idea. This guy. It's further back. Is it 31? It might be 31. Hold on.
To somebody else, just what he was trying, saying to us.
You didn't hear him object.
No,
You didn't hear him say, that's not what happened.
no, because he didn't know either.
Okay.
He told us he didn't know either.
All right, so there was a statement from the father that's not in this report.
I don't see where that's relevant.
Okay, well, you don't get,
What?
that was a statement that was attributed to her.
Correct,
And it was a statement that was made in the presence of the father.
correct.
And the father didn't object.
I don't know what he said. I wasn't focused on him as far as what he was saying to somebody else, just what he was trying, saying to us.
You didn't hear him object.
No,
You didn't hear him say, that's not what happened.
no, because he didn't know either.
Okay.
He told us he didn't know either.
All right, so there was a statement from the father that's not in this report.
I don't see where that's relevant.
Okay, well, you don't get to choose what's relevant or not. What I'm trying to
You don't get to
decide
choose what's
is,
relevant.
strike that. You got one statement from Lindsay, correct?
Correct.
All right. You're now telling me that there were other statements that you heard from the father that aren't depicted in your report.
These statements, he just told us that he's like, I don't know what's going on. Like,
Okay.
no, he didn't say much else aside from what you see, where he's, he didn't. I don't think he knew.
He didn't.
Yeah, I can't speak for him, but he didn't seem to have a clue.
But you can't speak for him because you were there. You heard things.
No, I'm not speaking on behalf of him because he's not me.
Right.
I'm not.
Okay, I understand you're not him, but you were present at the scene.
Correct.
And you were present at the scene to...
I can't speak for him. You're not speaking for him. You're writing your report. And yeah, Lindsay, I totally agree with everything you're saying. But right there, if I'm a defense attorney, I say, oh, so he caused harm prior? Like, I would just ask that. I would say, oh, so did he cause harm before? Why do you think he's going to cause more harm? Did you see him harm, Hannah? Like, I would just get him talking.
hear what Lindsay had to say,
Yeah,
right?
I'm not going to speak on, I'm not going to put words in other people's mouths. If I didn't hear, I'm not putting it out there.
Okay.
Put words in other people's mouths? No, you just ask them questions and you write down what they said.
You did 2 vital readings, correct?
Correct.
All right, I'll show you so
Okay.
you're not answering into that.
Let's take a here. Let's take a little here from here.
Now a lot of people want to have books. I can't personally prove that, but Lindsay, I know Lindsay was doing that first.
Was Lindsay protecting him?
Everyone,
but more importantly, there was no cross-examination done to the extent that I believe that would discredit witnesses, aka, Hannah's father, aka I'm sorry, aka yeah. Chris Davis.
Well, that's what she said. She said they were friends, and so she didn't want to get him in trouble for child abuse. Like the very first thing she told me on the phone in tears, was I thought he needed to go be by Hannah's bedside, and they were interrogating both of us, and I wanted him to go be with Hannah because Hannah was sick. Hannah was alone in the hospital, and she needed her dad. So I know Lindsay was doing that for him in that moment, but I don't understand. I don't know if she would protect him of child abuse. Like,
well, how is she supposed to know what goes on behind the door? Like, okay, can I ask you this? Leave it right there. Hold on.
And they're contained on the first page of the report.
Correct.
Can y'all see that? I'm afraid to zoom in. This would be the first one?
Correct.
All right. And this would be the second one?
Correct.
All right. And that would indicate respiration?
That is respiration, and the 98 right there is her oxygen level. That's the oxygen that's currently saturating in her blood.
I'm sorry. I'm stuck to a cord.
Best friends.
I apologize. I don't see what you're referring to. What's
Okay.
the 90 number?
Do you see 22 dash minute?
Right here?
Yeah, right down below where it says effort, sound, and sound. You see SpO2. You see that 98?
Yeah.
That is her oxygen saturation.
Right. And O2 is oxygen.
Yes.
All right. And then at the second reading, it was the same amount of respiration.
Correct.
And 97.
Correct.
All right. What does 98 and 97 mean?
That's just the percent of oxygen attached to her hemoglobin in her blood. Both of those are completely normal for any human.
Okay. So you didn't have concerns about her breathing?
I had concerns that it was a little bit shallow and rapid and like, again, that sniffing. But as far as her oxygen saturation, that's not concerning to me.
Okay.
The inadequate breathing, like I said, the rate at which she was breathing was just odd, not normal.
Gotcha. And you have the training, education, and experience to ventilate?
Not with a ventilator. We can use a bag valve mask, which is the
Right.
which is the bat. Yeah.
And that's to support breathing?
Correct.
All right. You didn't do that?
No, she didn't need it.
Okay. And then the notation on the far right, GCS, that stands for?
Glasgow Coma Scale.
Right. And that's a measurement of?
Alert, responsiveness, awareness.
The higher the number, the better the score.
Correct. 15 is the highest you can get. 3 is the lowest.
Wait, what? Lana, wait, what? Are you about to give us a bomb?
For sure, yes. He was a drug. He is.
She's supposed to know what goes on behind the door. Like, okay, can I ask you this? And this is like, I mean, trust me, this is not.
He would take Hannah up and then go driving around. He sold drugs to the employees that worked where Jason worked, which was for TJ.
Okay, this is cheap. Wait, what? What? Chris Davis? Chris Davis, what? He picked up Chris Davis and he would drive around and Hannah would be in the car? And Chris Davis would sell drugs to the employees? Wait, what? Welcome to Chris Davis. So, wait, what?
I can't personally prove that, but Lindsay said that he would pick Hannah up and then go driving around. He sold drugs to the employees that worked where Jason worked, which was for TJ.
Okay, this is huge. Dun dun dun. Remember I said the other day, I said, why, like, when did Chris arrive? Like, Like, what? Wait, Hannah's in the car? Why are you giving TJ $300 a week? Is that his cut of the drug money?
Let's say that Jason, like, I mean, this is all hypothetical, but it's possible. As I immediately thought, feeling, was like, what if he grabbed the daughter and was like, you're going to give me that shit?
Ready? You're out selling drugs. People do whacked up shit.
Like, took her head, hit it into a car. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he drove off. The guy got the drugs. He left with his, baby doll. And, so there would be like, those people would have to come forward, and I could find people like that bought drugs off of Jason that night. Yeah. Hannah was there. And, no one's ever going to want to admit to like, yo, yeah,
But you can get people to say whacked out shit.
I mean,
so let me ask you this. Lindsay didn't tell her lawyers this? Because do you hear it all in that cross? You didn't drive around and sell drugs that night? You don't sell drugs to the employees? Chris isn't a drug dealer?
I saw him nodded out of his car one time after like one of the court hearings, pre-trial dates. He was asleep in his car, like up against his window, and now it came out later that he had lived in his car before Lindsay's, before he lived next to Lindsay, because you know that he rented from TJ's dad. Okay, so the house belonged to TJ's dad. Okay, they live all together. It's just Jason's house right next to Lindsay's house, and then next to that is TJ's dad and TJ's dad's stepmom's house. Okay, so what I would do is I would set a date that
I can't tell you guys what I'm doing, so hold on.
Melanie lives there now. I have footage where I drove it, so I'm gonna go through all the files this weekend and get you what you need. Okay. So but you can go there. But it does feel private. It's not a private road all the way to Paula's house, but then you can go behind Paula and TJ's dad's house, which his name is Timothy also, I think. Anyway, if you go back behind there is the company where they all worked. Okay. So, but yeah, you can drive through there. I know that Paula, the stepmom, TJ's stepmom, was saying that people from A&E were trying to drive through there. So you know. Oh, I'm sure. Take someone with you. They're Pentecostal, but they're very private. TJ's parents and TJ are good old boys, and they used to scare me just going to like the birthday parties. They don't like outsiders. They're gonna be like, "What are you doing here?" Yeah, they will yell at you for sure. I mean, that's all the things that I like to look at is to grab. That's another thing is were their neighbors. I mean, I'm sorry, but when you're abusing children, your neighbors, like when you're constantly abusing children or talking crazy to them, your neighbors are the number one people that anybody should go to ask questions as it pertains to stuff like that, because your neighbors see a lot, Yeah. And were any of the neighbors called to testify? No. There's only the one house, and it's not that. It's like behind. You can't really even see it. But no. Wow. There are a bunch of employees, right, that drive that route every day. Because Lindsay was worried about them. They would drive their trucks their work trucks really fast, and she would be always worried the kids were going to be out in the front yard playing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, have you never ever even slept alone. Like she never even had a night off. She had a potential grandparents who could watch her kids anytime, and she never even, she was very hands-on, like motherhood. Neither one of us ever had. The first time I ever spent a night away was because of Lynn's second week of trial. And my husband came the first week, took a week off, and so we were all there. But then he and my son went home, and so Lindsay and I always bonded over that. Like, anyway, I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, I have a fuck just shock.
yeah, we were supposed to be going. Lindsay had booked us a hotel for the weekend. Both of us, we were TJ, Lindsay, and the kids, and me. It was Lindsay's birthday, which is around St. Patrick's Day, and we were going to stay in.
Me and Lindsay have the same birthday, by the way. That's why I took the case. Pisces.
I forget the name of the hotel, but like right there by the aquarium. Like our big birthday night out plans were go to the aquarium with the kids and go to dinner with the kids and swim in the hotel pool for the kids. Like, yeah. So, but then I didn't hear from her. I couldn't get a hold of her, and she eventually I called her mom and said, "Is something wrong?" And Stacey gave me the phone and to Lindsay, and Lindsay she told me that Hannah had fallen off a train the day before and wasn't gonna wake up. And I just kept saying she's gonna wake up, like it's gonna be fine. And Lindsay kept saying, I don't know, I don't think so.
Wait.
In my mind is like
She fell off a train?
she did fall off a toy train the day before and hit her face on the handlebars.
Okay.
Fall in the concrete garage. So they had a playroom set up in the garage.
Okay.
And
Were there
This is 6 months ago. This phone conversation is 6 months ago. Yeah, 6 months ago. How does Lindsay get back into the courtroom? New evidence, new eyewitness statements. What did Jason and Chris Davis and Hannah do on March 7th, the night before March 8th? That gets Lindsay Partin back into the courtroom. So
we're talking here and now, and then I don't even know if those I'm sure they didn't.
They then subpoenaed Jason's phone records.
Because of they could have, I'm not saying like and come back and say okay, because sometimes
where does she say that?
Come back and say okay, because sometimes you're not discovering.
Being sued by Jason in civil case. I don't know if that still went forward. I haven't heard anything about it.
Oh, and like a wrongful death.
Yeah, and I wanted it to move forward because that way we could then subpoena Jason's phone records.
Boom! Right there. So as of September, they wanted Jason to move forward with the wrongful death. If he moves forward with the wrongful death, there's a civil trial, which then his phone records could be subpoenaed. It is, he filed right before the day of the statute of limitations, which was right before the trials happened in 2019. It was 2021, and he still hadn't gone forward with the civil suit. Why wouldn't you go forward with a civil suit? She worked hard for the money, so you better choose it.
And the GCS, again, looking
Correct.
here, which is 11,
Yeah.
not an overly concerning reading.
Yes. Anything below 15 is concerning.
Right. Okay. And it's, mean, did you train on GCSs and how to take them?
Yeah, it's just an assessment looking at the patient. You can assess if their eyes are open, if they're moving their arms, and if they're talking to you.
Right.
Anyone
So,
can do it.
3 categories within the GCS. One is eye response.
Correct.
One is verbal response.
Correct.
One is
No,
motor
it's not
response.
eye response. It's eyes open or not, basically.
Anything else?
Eyes are open. So if you see on here, it's got eyes, which are spontaneous, so they're open. Her verbal response is the inappropriate cries, inconsistently consolable, or moaning. Her motor response was withdrawing from painful stimuli, which when we tried to start the IV, she withdrew, so we ended up not going that route.
Gotcha. And what this report indicates were the concerning things in the GCS, not the full scale report.
No, that's the full GCS. That's it.
Okay. 1 second.
Take your time.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Hold up. No, not you. I didn't make sure the witness didn't.
Oh, okay.
Let me get out of your way. Give me a second.
Machine, you may redirect whenever you're ready.
Thank you. I have no further questions. Thank you.
All right. Now, sir.
Okay. So, what do we think? What do you guys think? Anything? Anybody want to say anything?
So that's the big thing. Did she do her ineffective counsel yet?
Yeah.
She did. That was the appeal that she did.
Yeah, they talked about that.
They talked about it in there. Okay. Because I mean, I would next to
The juror, like if a juror was biased, we could always take that to the court.
Okay.
She had a female lawyer and a male lawyer, and Lindsay had the winning hand. Lindsay had the winning hand in this, no doubt about it. And I don't understand how you blow it, but we're witnessing how you blow it. You couldn't go and subpoena an employee or somebody that bought drugs off of Jason with Hannah in the car. You couldn't find anybody. Like, what the hell are they doing? Anyways, that's gonna wrap up this episode. There is the EMT testimony. He was definitely coached, and he definitely is young. And let's hope that that this experience, he's changed his ways. So again, thank you guys. No, not when you do ineffective counsel. You don't have the same attorneys to basically go at the opposing attorneys that you had before. Nope, Vicky, always a pleasure. So you guys can go web sleuth it up and come back with Chris Davis's and Jason's client list. Until next time. Which I'm going to do Lindsay on primetime tomorrow night. So tune into that one. Again, thank you guys. Lindsay's got 2 kids. They need their mom, and I believe they got the wrong person. And the corruption, we'll start talking about that soon. But Butler County, Hamilton, good old boys club, kind of like Aliquippa, but not dealing with the race issue. It's okay, Canadian Mama. It's a Sunday. You can have a dumb moment. Again, happy birthday, Diane. Much love to you. Thank you, everybody, for joining in with me. And Tuesday, if you guys want to get your card reading, go see your girl, Miss Beautiful Mess. So, again, we will talk to you soon. Bye.